Well, hi everybody, it's the Week in the Tackle podcast, and we are live together in a studio in Washington, D.C. My name is Tom Rennie. Thank you for subscribing, listening, and indeed watching. Alongside me, quite literally, like here, like what would you say? This is about a metre, maybe? A metre away. It's star of Apple TV, Sirius XM FC host, everyone's third favourite MLS failure. It is Mr. Brian Dunny Dunseth. How are you, mate? You all right?
I'm great. Like, I want to give you a high five.
Should we do it?
Give you hey, third wall.
We're going to need some Purell.
Yeah, you're going to need to watch
We're going to need
that.
some Purell now.
You don't know where I've been. How are you, bud? Good to see you.
I'm doing very well.
Like, what are we doing here? How are we
It's
gonna
weird
explain
because,
this?
so, if you're watching on YouTube, we do have, like, the usual camera setup. But the thing is, I can't look directly down the lens at you this week because Dunny is, like, to my right. And I feel like we should take this opportunity to look at each other in the flesh as opposed to on the camera, which is weird.
You know who else is here?
Who? The horse.
Get in front of the camera, horse.
The horse is here. The full team together in the same...
Sorry, Tim.
Sorry, Tim. You just write that down? Write that down, buddy. That's the first one. So we're in Washington, D.C., Sirius XM Studios. What is NOMA? What does it stand for? Do we know what that stands for? You're an American. Don't you know this stuff?
NOMA, have I an idea?
Oh, dear. That wasn't great, was it?
Not
But we don't cut things out on this f***ing show. So, sorry, Tim. We're not going to be doing that again. So we're in... It's actually nice studios, apart from this studio. So the whole office is actually really nice and professional, and we bumped into a bunch of, like, colleagues who host other shows here. Yep. But this room, right, so this room that we are currently in is the Sirius XM FC, the Football Channel headquarters, the HQ. And I've got to tell you, it reminds me of every teenage boy's bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not that I've been in many teenage boys' bedrooms, not since I was a teenage boy. I've not had this much sex since I was a Boy Scout leader. But it's so...
I wish you could see Horsey.
It's so filthy in here, right? So I got in this morning to do the Grumpy Pundit show, and I'm in with producer Will, and I was like, oh, good, it's good to be in the studios. And I'm looking at some of the shirts and some of the scarves, and okay, lovely. And then I found a box, this box to be specific, alongside me here. And it is a box of Premierios, like Cheerios, but Premier League themed. It's very nice.
Gotcha.
I didn't get that earlier.
Great wordplay.
I'm glad you got it immediately because it took me some time. I was pronouncing that real weird for the first hour of the show. And then took a closer look at this. So the stars on the front of the Premierios box are Eden Hazard in a Chelsea shirt, looking like thin. Daniel Sturridge, who retired, I think, maybe like 3 years ago. Doesn't he live in LA now, I think, or something like that? Yeah. And Tim Howard.
Timmy boy.
Tim Howard.
Still looking the same.
So and this box, as you can hear, is still full of Cheerios. They've had this box in this room.
Premios. How dare you?
Oh, well, not Premierios.
Premierios, whatever you're going to call it.
Premierios.
You can't say Cheerios.
Well, I would have said Premierios if I was English, but because it's America, I was going to say Premierios, like Premier League.
Yeah, that works.
Premierios. Yeah. And so this comes from a time where Hull City, Queen's Park Rangers, Stoke City, Sunderland, Swansea, and West Bromwich Albion are all still in the Premierios League.
Oh, poor Andy in New Hampshire.
And it's a full box, like, and they just keep this in here.
Yeah.
Like, this is something they keep in here as decoration. No. This is like poison. This should be like making someone's driveway. This is like the hardcore now.
You could do it. That's like cat litter now, but you could still eat it. Of course you could eat it. And don't think for a second there hasn't been like Gabe Ortiz.
Yeah.
Or Patrick Stoll.
Some of them are gross. Some of them are gross.
Who else can we throw under the bus?
Olsen, would she have eaten it?
Emily Olsen.
Too classy.
Like, somebody thought about breaking into those at some point because they were so hungry.
If you were doing like an 8-hour day, some of those COVID days.
100%.
Where one tech-op was in here for like 8-10 hours.
Yeah.
Couldn't move.
But they were so afraid of someone going, where's the Premios? What happened to the Premios?
Where are they?
Who ate the Premios? That was like a $4,000 collector box.
Do you think this could be worth money now?
I mean, it also has the NBCSN logo
yes,
at the
which
top.
is gone now, right?
So I assume. Well, hand that thing over.
Do you want this?
I just want.
Now he's in. Now he's in,
folks.
folks.
Oh yeah, no. This is. So I bet you this is one of those like PR stunts that they kind of put together. Let me see.
Cool. It has to be. They weren't selling this in the shop.
See the NBCSN stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those like, hey, we've got the Premier League. Here's a marketing ad campaign. Premios, not Cheerios.
Yes, it's good.
Premios.
I like it. If anyone wants to win this, we might run a competition for
This
it.
has Warrior. This is how old this is for Liverpool heads out here. I'm gonna take you back to one of the dark days of kit branding. Warrior.
I thought Warrior made good kits. Are they not well remembered?
Are you the purple, black, and white kits?
Have you seen the one they've got now? Liverpool have to have a terrible away kit. That's kind of their vibe, isn't it?
What's worse, the Arsenal kit that we saw yesterday at the MLS Skills Challenge, and what is going to be the new kit, or that one?
Probably that one. Probably.
Yeah.
But also, I want to talk about
argument.
MLS All-Star. I want to talk about the Skills Challenge. We were there last night. We're going to All-Star tonight.
The Keepy Uppy Challenge, by the way, you had a crowd.
I want to talk about this as well.
Yeah.
But firstly, how surprised were you how much Tony Meola loved that Arsenal shirt? Like, on air, he said he liked it. Now, we all lie on air, okay? Spoiler alert. If the boss says to me, say you love the MLS Skills Challenge, I will do that on air for money. That's how it works, okay? To be fair, I did actually then enjoy it. I wasn't expecting to, but it was actually quite fun. But off air, we then went for dinner afterwards, and just apropos of nothing out of nowhere, he was like, God, that Arsenal kid, I really like that.
Wait,
I love that jersey.
That's your Tony Meola?
No, I was just general American.
Oh, okay.
I'll do you.
That was a bit
No,
dangerous.
it's a bit more like that, isn't it? It's a bit more like that. Got more of a.
He's gonna smash you.
Got more of a higher pitch.
If he hears that's your impression of
Why?
it. Because have you seen his Wreck-It Ralph hands?
Yes, but that's a really good impression of his voice.
Have you ever played the game Donkey Kong where they just smash?
So did you not think? Do your impression.
Tony Meola?
Yeah.
Hey Pete. How much further? How much further we walking? 1 block?
Too low.
Don't lie to me. Don't fucking lie to me, Pete.
Sorry, Tim. That's too low. That's too low.
And then Pete goes, no, it's like one more block on the other side of that building.
Yes, that was so funny.
And then Tony goes, oh, here we go. Sorry, Tim. Here we go. Here comes the sweats. Here comes, Are we purposely avoiding all the shade? Are we just purposely avoiding all the shade? Next thing you know, Meola looks like he went on a slip and slide.
Yes.
It was Tony. When Tony starts sweating, there's a moment where Tony knows he's about to sweat. And Tony goes, what the f*** are we doing? Sorry, Tim. I got to do it with
Yes.
What are we doing? We're doing this, huh? This is what we're doing?
I feel like
Okay,
you're
cool.
more doing like Frank Costanza, to be honest, more than you're doing Tony Meola.
You know, I feel like it was spot on. Spectacular.
I think mine was a bit better. It's slightly higher. It's somewhere between
Was
those
he
two.
castrated at some point recently that I'm not aware of?
Yeah, see, I'd not rehearsed it, so that was my first go. I'll work on it and get back to you.
This is our first time.
So weird, isn't it?
So yesterday, we've done shows for about a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Year and a half. We've done Week in the Tackle for about a year and a half. This is the first time I've ever been in SiriusXM studios in D.C., and I've been an employee for 6 years, maybe going on 7, somewhere in there. It's first
Since
time
the station started going from strength to strength, basically, from that point onwards.
the downfall of the channel. I apologize. But now, like, it's so cool to be in this. Like, this is like a surreal moment.
Yeah.
This is like a fishbowl moment for me.
Yeah.
To all be in the same
We should do
room at
this
the
more
same time.
often. We should do it more often.
Yeah.
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 We probably won't.
No, we're not.
No.
No.
Next year's All-Star, maybe.
No, I propose that you are a part of All-Star and MLS Cup Final.
I'd love to do MLS Cup Final. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
I mean, you are playing to the masses right now.
Yes, I am.
At least in Columbus.
I am wearing my Columbus Crew shirt, as
looks
gifted
good.
to me by our good friends at Columbus Crew, and it's going to be in Columbus next year, the All-Star game. So,
Yeah.
you know, got any budget, Tim?
Oh.
He says no. He says no.
Those are my stomping grounds.
These are so we can find out some of your
Columbus.
teenage haunts.
Columbus.
Is Hooters still there, or
Columbus.
is it still there, Hooters? I don't know.
I've
if it's
got
still there.
I got a special place for Columbus, Ohio.
But we also have a special
It's the
place
Miami of the Midwest, some
for
would say.
Washington, D.C., where we are. We've had a good time, haven't we, the last 48 hours or so?
Do
No,
you-
not that bit. We're not talking about that bit. We're not talking about that bit. The measures here are enormous. They're enormous. When you get a drink, it's not a 25 milliliter hit of
I just want
bourbon.
you guys. We were talking about the Arsenal jersey.
Yes.
I just want you to know the lines from the Arsenal jersey. That was basically the path that Rennie took to get back to his hotel after our first night out.
Do you know, I was such a shambles
you'll
after
get it when you see it. Yeah, you'll get it when you
I
see
can't tell you the whole thing because I don't want to.
We had s'mores together.
Yes, I don't remember it at all.
We had s'mores together. We had so much fun that Rennie, we were at the MLS PA party. We had a blast. We were catching up with everyone. Rennie comes running over to me in the middle of a conversation, like a serious conversation. And he goes, "They have s'mores! S'mores! S'mores!" And I'm like, "Where?" And so I was like, "We got to get a picture." So we go over, we take a picture, and I take a bite. And you know, like when s'mores have been like sitting out by a campfire, they've been you don't really camp, but like for everyone out there that like knows, like if you do it, you got to eat the s'more immediately. It's got to be nice and hot and gooey and melting all.
Otherwise, you
chocolate.
miss the boat.
You missed it.
Yeah.
These just sat out for a bit, which is fine. It's still tasty. There are like various like additions to the s'mores. I'm a Reese's Pieces, or I'm a peanut butter cup kind of guy instead of just chocolate. It just adds a little bit of peanut butter flavor. It's a little bit dry. It's a little bit. They get caught in the back of your mouth.
Claggy. I'd say they were claggy.
So Rennie goes, "No!" We take the picture. And "No!" And he just throws it into the trash. And it was amazing.
I'm not sure.
Tim's high-fiving us right now.
I'm not sure that any of this happened. Because you know when you got a terrible friend who tries to tell you things you actually didn't do the following day because you don't remember.
Yeah.
I have picture proof of eating the s'more, but we have no proof of anything that happened afterwards. But I will say there were 2 hotels in this city with the same name. And after, we had a really good day down at the MLS Open Training. We spoke to Wayne Rooney and Matt Miazga and a whole bunch of other players. It was really cool.
I helped you by patting off the sweat from your bald head.
I didn't take a hat. That was so unbearably dumb. I've made so many bad decisions since arrival. But then
the social media manager who was coming with us, what was his name?
Brady.
Sorry,
Good old
Brady.
Brady.
So Brady's a big man. Tom was crouching down underneath Brady in his shadow.
Yes.
To avoid the sun.
I was in fear of a sunstroke. I was very close.
Well, you had a poor performance for the Balds. The Balds would be very disappointed in your decision making.
The Balls need to think ahead. When the revolution comes, the Balls will be the head. That's how it'll be. But I basically
wish we could do this in person more
on
often.
the way home, I got into a taxi after you all left me because they're all staying somewhere else. So I just sort of sat on a verge. In like that kind of National Mall bit in between Capitol Hill and the White House, and just sat on my own under a tree for like 5 minutes waiting for my cab. Just like, I don't know how I managed to get through all that. I'm sure Wayne Rooney recognised the signs. And then I basically went to the wrong hotel, but because they looked similar on the outside, I walked into reception and got to the elevator before going like, yeah, I'm not staying here.
Yeah, wrong one.
And had to turn around again. So that's how dishevelled things have been.
We had a good time.
Yeah, but it's been good. The skills challenge. I actually thought it was going to be terrible. I really didn't have high aspirations for it. But I did find myself super getting into it.
Yeah.
Especially Goalie Wars.
So much fun.
Goalie Wars, this is one of those things where if we're looking about how to like expand the American sphere of influence over soccer, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Go on a tour like the Harlem Globetrotters around the world and go to clubs and be like, we want your goalkeeper to be involved in this against our celebrity panel of goalkeepers. So for those that don't know it, you explained it to us last week, but now we've seen it. Give us a rerun through of what we saw last night and how it kind of works.
Yeah, so they took the MLS Next Pro goalkeepers, the top 4 goalkeepers, and basically what they've done, this was kind of like an in-between for commercial breaks between all of the other competitions that were happening between Arsenal and the MLS All-Stars. So they basically used the halfway line as the marker in between the 2 goals. They went about 15 yards on either side. And then so the goalkeepers then could either throw, roll and kick, or volley and kick and shoot on the other goalkeepers. But if it was a save, if they forced the goalkeeper into a save, they retain possession. They keep possession, get to go again. But if you catch it or the ball goes wide, then you get the opportunity to go back and forth. I don't know this kid Damian Loss, the goalkeeper that participated. But I know he took it seriously.
Yes, he really, really was not happy.
He took it so seriously that he was unhappy with his perception of time wasting by the opponent and was MFing the referee. And it was amazing. And I kept telling you, like, you were like, no, it's all fun and games. Like, this is kind of like hee, ha, ha. And I was like, no, there comes that moment where people get embarrassed. And I know we'll talk about Kai Havertz and a couple other players, but like the social media that's out there, none of these guys want to be embarrassed.
No.
This guy took it super seriously. And he took it so seriously that Horsey and I were on the sideline, and I'm doing commentary down. You guys are up on the level. And he makes this incredible window washer save. Left hand comes all the way up. He stretches across, and he just goes, off. Sorry, Tim. And Tim and I start laughing. Like, we legitimately started laughing. We're like, chill out, bro. Like, the winner got a WWE-esque type of wrestling belt that said MLS Next Pro.
You wanted that belt. The moment
so
it was there,
awesome.
you wanted it.
It was so awesome.
Yeah.
But then, like, he got into the final, and this dude's screaming at the referee for time. And the kid who ends up winning it, Walker, he's taking his time. It's obvious he's.
But it's a game. It's a tactic. I mean, if that goes international, which it should,
you play the game within the game.
You work the clock.
Yeah. But so, anyways, Walker wins. Last loses. Wouldn't shake hands. Walked around like was so pissed. Ripped his gloves off. Was even looking at the MLS All-Stars that were sitting on the bench. Were like trying to get them. Be like, oh, this is bullshit, bro. This is bullshit. Sorry, Tim. And the guys are like, I don't care. But you know what was great? Aaron Ramsdale loved it. I couldn't take my eyes off Aaron Ramsdale. I don't know Aaron Ramsdale. I am not an Arsenal fan, but I'm an Aaron Ramsdale guy now.
Oh, yeah.
He was
top guy.
So into it. It was so in the midfield, they had like the two chairs in the sitting area, and you couldn't see at home, but I was watching Ramsdale. Ramsdale was talking so much ish. Like when Kai Havertz had a shocker, Ramsdale walked up to him and started talking trash, and Havertz pushed him away.
He literally,
get off me, bro.
He must have walked 40 yards to get in his face.
Yeah, and then they go to goalie wars, and so I don't know how am I going to do this. So then Ramsdale he turns his attention. He realizes goalie wars is going to happen, and so there's like a little the barrier. Ramsdale goes like this, and he's just watching. Good, yeah, great save. Oh, did you see how hard he kicked that one? And he was just like a kid in a candy shop. He was so excited.
Why don't the actual keepers do it? Is it because it's not safe?
Yeah, they don't. Well, I just don't think they want to. So Mioli used to do it.
Yeah.
And there was a guy named Zach Thornton who could kick the living piss out of the ball. He used to do it. And so this was a real part of it. So
this is the guy you were telling me last night who had the record for hardest shot in the league or something?
So they used to take, they had a speed radar gun, and they would see who could kick the ball the hardest. Zach kicked it 98 miles an hour. And no one, I was probably 89. I exaggerate sometimes. But it was so hard that no one else could win. All of the strikers are oh, he's got the hardest strike of the ball. Zach would kick the ball and you're he's going to kill someone.
That's why they put him in goal, for the safety of everybody else. That's why he's doing it.
Man, you're awesome.
But I mean, I really would love to see Aaron Ramsdale do it. I thought it was really cool, and I just kept thinking, that bit that many of our listeners will appreciate, maybe more than you might, where you're playing 5-a-side or pick up football or something, and it's your turn to go in goal, rotation goalkeeper, and I just live in fear of it. Just live in fear of it. Someone's going to hit the ball hard at me. Someone's going to, it's going to be fine, but there's the anticipation of, being hit really hard with the football. And that bit where, it got to the final and they were doing the drop kick one.
Yeah.
Where they were, smashing that ball.
So hard.
From, 10 feet away, right at the goalkeeper. Goalkeepers, they're just nuts, absolutely nuts. So I loved that. I'd love to have a go at that. In terms of the skills challenge itself, I just wonder what it was. It was interesting and it was fun, and the crowd enjoyed it. And I think eventually, when the Arsenal players kind of got into it a little bit more and started to understand what was happening, they were kind of getting into it. But there are great upsides to it, but there can be some downsides as well. And Kai Havertz. Now, I want to have a chat about Kai Havertz as a footballer, and we'll have a few about him during the season, because the fact that he's gone to Arsenal, the fee, the fact Chelsea wanted to let him go, where he's going to play for Arsenal, it's going to be really, really interesting, because Mikel Arteta, who spent more money than any other manager in football over the last 3 years, has purpose-built this team with this guy in mind. So it's going to be fascinating. But he had a shocker, an absolute shocker. So whatever the heads and volley. Is it heads and volley challenge? It must have an American-y title.
I don't know what the challenge was, but it was basically service and volley challenge on a goalkeeper.
Control challenge.
Oh, sorry, the control challenge. Yeah, sorry. The one with it looks like it's a skee ball.
Oh, no, he was all right on that one. It was the other one I was talking about, when he was shooting at the keeper. Yes, the crossing and finishing one.
Shut
up, Tim. God. Sorry we don't give you a microphone when we're in the same room together because you say nonsense. But, like, they were basically crossing to him from one side, and his job was to score. And a couple of the All-Stars were terrific, like really, really good.
Denny Bwanga was fantastic.
Smash! Did he hit like 4 in a row?
Yeah, from LAFC. He
brilliant.
Was, fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant. But Havertz had 14 shots. None went in. Most missed the target. And he actually was so bad, he damaged the screen behind the goal. So the screen is one of these huge digital screens. And now it's basically, I'm looking forward to seeing it tonight, it looks unusable because there's like cracks and smashes and loads of little LED lights that are no longer working.
But not for nothing. They put it literally behind the goal. And there's like no net that comes down to protect it. It's literally just a giant television screen that is behind kind of the tiered section, not the standing room only section, but across from the opposite side. But it's like any shot that goes over the crossbar is going to hit this screen. So like product placement, less than ideal.
But we're talking about it today, which we might not have done unless they didn't smash balls against it. I mean, look, it is the skills challenge. It is a bit of fun, and he's a bit away with the fairies sometimes, Kai Havertz, so I'm sure it won't have a massive detrimental effect. But if you go to, like, the British press today, or you go to, like, fan media, or certainly social media, I know you're on all the social medias bar Elon's one, and it's all, Kai Havertz is a bit crap, isn't it? Which is unfair, massively, but this is the risk of doing the skills challenge, which is maybe why it's a bit of a...
How good was Kivior?
Yeah.
Oh, he was the star of the show.
Unbelievable.
Star of the show.
Nobody had Jakub Kivior being the best player, but he was just stroking the ball around.
Left foot.
Unbelievable.
Quality left foot. Yeah, listen, for Havertz, I covered Havertz for Europa League when he was at Bayer Leverkusen. And by the way, I spent some time at Bayer Leverkusen. What a great club. But when Kai was coming through, he was 16, 17, and he's a special player.
Yeah.
He's a special player. But he was more in like a free role. He could find the game. And it was always interesting when he went to Chelsea. I was always intrigued to see how managers were going to play him. Because in the system of the front three, he's not a point striker. He's not really a winger he's more of like an off the shoulder. You got to let him be a hybrid of like a 10 or an off the shoulder striker. So how do you build that team? And then it becomes into the conversation, well, is he good enough to have that type of role?
And is he?
It depends on who his teammates are.
Mm.
So this whole talk about Arsenal, I'm really intrigued to see how Mikel Arteta plays him against the MLS All-Stars and what his role is. Because when you say, okay, I'll ask you, Kai Havertz, who does he start over? And how does Mikel Arteta figure out a system for him to play? Because he's certainly good enough to start. But in what position, what tactical scheme, what setup, what phase of play does he find himself in?
Well, this is why, the Declan Rice signing is so consequential to Arsenal. This is why Mikel Arteta, by all reports, pushed massively to make sure Declan Rice came in. Because if you look at the back end of last season, when Thomas Partey fell out of form and whatever happened to him, I think that was so pivotal to Arsenal not being Premier League champions. He didn't want to risk that again, and he brings someone like Declan Rice in, who I think, besides shooting from distance, in every other metric is an upgrade
100%.
On Thomas Partey. Yeah. And you don't need your defensive midfielder to shoot from 30 yards. You don't need it. You can drop that in place of everything else. I think bringing in Declan Rice and Kai Havertz together, the reason it makes sense, at least on paper to me, is that Declan Rice can do like 2.5 people's jobs. If you look at some of the stats from Thomas Souček last year. Now, I do have a bit of a go at Thomas Souček, but I also think...
He's a legend, by the way. He won a trophy.
That's true. He did win a trophy, and he is a legend. That's absolutely right. But he had a worse season last season because Declan Rice became a different player. He was no longer the holding midfielder. He was doing a whole bunch of jobs, and he's kind of developing as a player in a team that didn't need him to do that. And so it kind of affected Thomas Souček, I think. But you look at the numbers, like, essentially Declan Rice was doing 2 people's jobs. Plus, when Paqueta was crap, he was also driving the team forward and scoring goals. So he's doing 3 midfielders' jobs on his own. You take that to Arsenal, he does everything Thomas Partey did in terms of covering the ball and winning the ball back and dominating midfield and protecting defence and carrying it upfield. But he also can do the Xhaka job. So you've got Xhaka and Partey in one player, allowing Martin Ødegaard to continue to develop into this world-class talent. And then you've got Kai Havertz, who everyone keeps telling me how incredible he is. Certainly German journalists, Kevin Hatchard and Derek Ray and Ralph Honigstein and all the people that I really... If they say it, I'll go with it, right? These guys. They keep telling us. I have seen Kai Havertz have some really great games. In general, I see someone who can get distracted by a butterfly. Like, he just seems like... Have you ever... You would have done this loads of times. You're walking with a child. And you're like, right, we're going to get new shoes today. It's okay, we go to the shoe shop. Can we get ice cream? And you're like, well, I mean, we're at the shoe shop now. It's like, okay, balloon. Can I get the balloon, Daddy? No, we've got to go to the shoes. Oh my God, there's a red car, Daddy, red car. That sort of stuff. Kai Havertz has that sort of attention span to me. And if Mikel Arteta can make him Arteta level intense, and Declan Rice can do all that defensive work, then it makes sense to me.
I wonder if he thinks that Declan Rice sits as the 6, the holding 6, that if he feels that Ødegaard and Kai Havertz can sit in front of him, so a triangle, tip down, point down, that's the 3 in the midfield that he can believe in. Offensively makes sense, right? You put Martinelli, you have Saka, and then you have Jesus up top.
Not Balogun.
Not as of right now. I mean, I would assume that the $40 million going to AC Milan is still on the table. But I think you think about that starting 11, or at least that 6, that little pivot 6. Okay.
Yeah.
But when they lose the ball and they come up against a team that's as proficient, if not more in possession, can you play with just a single true holding 6 defensive midfielder? And the modern game suggests that you play 2 midfielders that are hybrids of 6 and 8s, dual hybrid 6 and 8s that can do the up and down and side to side, and then allow even more creativity and free roll to play higher up and go. Outside backs get forward. And so, some of these darting, driving runs through the midfield, when Declan wins the ball and he starts taking that 20, 30-yard run, is there going to be the correct balance? Is someone going to pinch in from an outside back into that defensive midfield role? I think we're going to continue to see the evolution of how Mikel Arteta wanted to maybe mimic everything that he learned from Pep Guardiola, and now continue to see the evolution of his interpretation of football, if you will, because now he's got the players to do whatever he wants. This group of players can play whatever system, whatever style, whatever identity that Mikel Arteta wants to play. But now you got to look for those little tweaks, those little dynamics to make sure that he's got all the offensive capabilities and firepower that he will have capable with this group of players, and still make sure on the defensive transition when they lose the ball that they're compact enough to deal with the athleticism that's going to come. And by the way, talking about Timber coming as a center back, it's a really good team.
It's a team that should be winning the Premier League. So says Martin Samuel in the Times. And they were got to get 95 points to do it. We shall see. It's going to be fascinating. I think Declan Rice is a surefire hit. I think Kai Havertz is a bit of a wild card. But if you can make him the world-class player that everyone else thinks that he is, then there's every chance. But, of course, he couldn't have hit a cow's backside with a banjo last night. So I don't know. One other quick bit on Arsenal from last night. Flo Balogun. I've got to ask you about him. We're going to talk about him a decent amount, I think, because... when he got... So all the players and the referees got introduced like WWE talent, like smoke and like theme tune. It's like, here comes your referee for tonight, Mike Dean. And he comes out, dun, 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 dun. It's just wild.
Are you sad that Mike Dean retired, by the way?
I thought he was going to come over here and do next year's All-Star. Wouldn't that be amazing? That's a fucking star right there. Sorry, Mike. So let's try and make that. Happen. But Balogun, so everyone's getting oh, good to see you. Like, oh, good, Benteke, all that. And then Balogun comes out, and it was like standing ovation time.
They love him.
They love him.
Yeah.
And he was pretty decent, not spectacular in the kind of various challenges, but didn't embarrass himself like trampoline control Benteke.
It's a tough night.
It was a tough night for him, and even these little setups. I forget, was he setting up Ferreira? I forget who it was now, but whoever he was setting up, they were just like, come on, mate. All you got to do is stop the ball.
Ferreira had to reset the ball.
Constantly. It was so bad. And when he was trying to shoot, just like straight, and was just like, well. And they were going in the net, so it must have confused him. But Balogun, what's going to happen, right? How do you see this? Because part of it, if I'm Arsenal now, and I could potentially have the USA number 9 striker, and you can't say they're not interested in the commercial possibility that brings because they're literally here now doing the skills challenge. So Arsenal evidently are massively interested in the almighty dollar and what they can do to expand in America, as everyone is, like 11 Premier League teams over here, and even bloody Wrexham are here, right? So everyone's here. If they can make that work, it's going to be a monumental hit. If Arsenal were Premier League champions and Flo Balogun was the backup to Jesus / played 30 games, just, front page stuff, huge story, right? It's going to be like a cross-network story. But they don't seem interested. It does still feel like he is trying to force a move, and he's still behind Eddie and Nketiah in the pecking order at Arsenal. So I don't know. How do you solve a problem like Flo Balogun?
Well, first, I think the reason why he gets the applause that he got is because he is the number 9. And I think during the Nations League, obviously everyone was hyped up about the potential of coming to the United States and representing the United States. But then what he did in the Nations League was something that we haven't had in a long time. So I think that's why the fact that he's with Arsenal right now, and there's so much speculation about where potentially he ends up. I agree with you. And by the way, Austin Trusty was the one that hit the crossbar to ultimately win. So another American was on the field at the same time.
He came in from MLS, didn't he? Where did he come in from?
So he started at Philadelphia, came through the Philadelphia Academy, was over at Colorado Rapids, and then Arsenal bought him, which is the Kroenke relationship.
Yes,
and that's where he ended up on loan at Birmingham City, which I would expect him to go out on loan again from Arsenal. But because it's the credit cards, bring him on over and put him in the squad. Balogun. Because of what he's done over the last 12 months of his career, and because of his player profile, because of all of his strengths, that what he has, there's a reason why there's so many big clubs that are, I think, fishing around. Now, the reality for Arsenal is they've got to figure out, is he a player, or I'll use an asset? Is he an asset that can be used immediately, or do they want to flip him and take advantage? He's been sent out at Middlesbrough. Now he's been sent out at Roch. And now we're trying to figure out what the future looks like.
You are so cultured. He's so cultured.
But I guess ultimately, what does Arsenal want? 25 million? 30 million? 35 million? And what's the threshold?
Every single amount there feels too much for someone who scored a few goals in Liga for a team that came like 14th.
Well, but if you were going to say that he's going to stay in the Premier League, then you say, okay, he's a $30 million player. But if you're trying to sell him to Serie A, the reality is Serie A teams can't afford.
Yeah.
And this is different. Arsenal doesn't have to sell. This isn't Chelsea.
No, they don't have to sell. But, also, they have spent a monumental amount of money. And they're not backed by a country. And they do need to justify this to financial fair play and sustainability rules and all that sort of stuff.
And being an England player.
Exactly right. Homegrown sales are all profit, right? So from that, someone like Balogun will need to go to balance the books from what they have bought elsewhere. So that could be part of it. But Mikel Arteta, what do we know about him at this point during his managerial career, 3 years in? We know that he likes young players. We know he likes young talent. We know he can improve young talent. We look at Bukayo Saka and Martinelli and all these players that have gone from potential to, those two players specifically delivered endlessly last season. If he looks at Balogun and wants him, it won't matter about financial fair play and all that sort of stuff.
Figure it out.
Life finds a way. If he looks at Balogun and goes, I can't make a striker out of him, what does that say?
It says that Balogun is not worthy of playing for Arsenal Football Club, and that he's not at the level that Mikel Arteta wants.
But that he can't make him that level? He thinks he can make Eddie Nketiah a Premier League number 9.
Well, that's where it becomes a fascinating conversation, because he can also play Havertz at the number 9 if he wants to. And I think that's what becomes fascinating about Havertz, is you can play him in multiple positions, so it becomes even more valuable to a guy like Mikel Arteta. I think Balogun can play for Arsenal.
You do?
I think, absolutely, he could be a part of the squad. Now, is he a starter? Not right now, not with Gabby Jesus up top. Gabby Jesus is going to start every single time if he's healthy and available. That's the reality right now. So for Balogun, there's got to be it's a really delicate situation because the reality, and this is what nobody talks about. I always find this fascinating conversation when we are trying to justify why a player has to leave. The club is saying the player has to leave. Like St. Maximin right now with Newcastle, he's got to leave. Hold on a second. Didn't he sign a valid contract? If St. Maximin was trying to force himself out, wouldn't Eddie Howe be saying, hold on, he signed a valid contract? Like, of course, where's his loyalty to the club? So we do this thing where we try to, like, justify who's right, who's wrong, and what looks better and what doesn't look better. The reality is Flo Balogun has a valid contract with Arsenal that he chose to sign.
Yeah.
There was no pressure, and the club gave him a contract, and he signed the contract accordingly. Now, knowing that he would go out on loan, knowing that still he had how many years left on his deal, knowing that he wanted to develop. And I don't think anybody's naive enough to think that Flo Balogun doesn't have aspirations to play for Arsenal and be the number 9 for Arsenal, but that might not be the reality. Tammy Abraham, look at what happened at Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then now having an unbelievable career with Roma. So life can come fast. But we find this thing where now you're trying to, if you're an Arsenal fan, you say, well, how much money can you make off Flo Balogun? Well, let's sell him. Let's take advantage of this. Let's utilize all that cash for profit situation and move him on. But what if Flo wants to stay and fight for his position? Does that mean he's a for doing so? Is that going to ruin the plans of Arsenal? I got to say sorry, Tim. I think I got to say sorry, Tim. Because he signed a valid contract. He wants to be a part of a project.
And he's got time. He's got years before the World Cup. He's
got plenty of time.
Years to develop there if he wants to. I mean, I'm surprised there is no talk of another loan. I'm surprised at that.
But at what point do these young, dynamic, up-and-coming players say, you're not loyal to me. Why should I be loyal to you? The dynamics behind the scenes are even more intriguing than the possibilities on the field sometimes. So, I obviously, he's going to have, 4 or 5 games for Arsenal and Mikel Arteta to, quote-unquote, prove that he's an Arsenal player? Or does it become the moment where someone comes in with a significant offer where Arsenal says, you know what, it might not be now, maybe it's next year, but with the amount of money that we're spending, this is a great offset to what we're talking about for financial fair play.
I just don't see the big offer. I mean, I haven't seen him that much in the flesh. I'm hoping he starts tonight. I'm looking forward to watching him, but you know, that we had our friend Ben Jacobs on, kind of transfer guru, was talking to us about kind of West Ham being in the mix. And by the way, wait till my tune changes when he becomes a West Ham player, folks. Should that happen?
Wait till Harry Maguire
immediate switch. It's not going to happen. It's not. Why are you saying? Stop bringing this up.
Wait till it happens.
To be fair, we've got Kurt Zouma, and he's got 2 knees that go in 5 different directions, so it's an improvement on that. Legend, though. Trophy winner. Legend. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Did you get your tattoo yet? We're here. Where is the fucking tattoo, Rennie? Sorry, Tim.
Look, I didn't say I was going to get a tattoo. There's no...
Roll the tape!
We have played...
Roll the tape!
We have played this tape many times.
Roll the tape!
I never said I was going to get a tattoo. I just said if this podcast went into the top 40, which it regularly does, and West Ham won the Conference League, which they did, that I would consider getting a Larry Hagman tattoo whilst holding the Conference League. But I can tell you, I promised to consider it. I've considered it, and I ain't f***ing doing it. Sorry, Tim. You spoke to Wayne Rooney yesterday.
I did.
All-Stars manager, DC United manager. He is only 4 months older than me, Wayne Rooney. And I still feel quite young. Like, not young in the traditional sense.
We all think we're 23, right?
Yeah, exactly. But like, in a manager sense, I'm very young. Right? If I was going to be a football manager, I'm very young. 37 years of age. Wait, I always think of him as older. I don't know why. Probably because I've got a mirror. I know we're the same age. But 37, currently at DC, low budget, good at corners, formulaic but unspectacular. But other teams in MLS have got Lionel Messi, right? So, you know, that's the way it goes. He said in his notes pre-game on the MLS website that he wants to see a pathway from where he is to be a top manager at a European club. You spoke to him yesterday. He has got so many years of career left in front of him. What do you make to that statement, and how do you see Wayne Rooney's progression and career path?
Listen, I am not one of those that is so insecure that you get to the point where you're like, oh my God, what? He's gonna leave MLS? Like, MLS is the best. Like, no, that's like, we all understand.
That was so unsettling to see in the flesh, by the way.
We all understand.
You really embodied the character.
Yeah.
That was scary.
You're welcome. This is one of those situations where, of course, he's got ambition to coach at the highest level. It's naive to think anything different. And what he did at Derby County when he transitioned from player to coach, what he's done now, coming back to familiar settings in D.C., with a hierarchy that he already knows from having played here before he went back home, and to continue to cut his teeth, I don't think that there's anything wrong with his statement. Now, what he's doing, to your point about Messi coming in, it's a nuclear arms race in terms of spending in Major League Soccer, and we'll continue to see that. And there's going to be a phase of the start of MLS, pre-MLS David Beckham, post-MLS with David Beckham, and now pre-MLS with Lionel Messi, and now real-time with MLS with Lionel Messi. He will do what a guy like Patrick Vieira did. Try to have as much success as possible, then turn that into an opportunity over in Europe. And
he does say top European club, though.
Of
I mean,
course.
do you think he would take
but I
the
think there's
Vieira
steps.
Crystal Palace route?
But there's steps.
But do you think he would take that step? I mean, you mentioned Vieira.
Well,
and the Palace thing sort of worked out, but all they did was finish 12th.
But he went to
Palace
Nice,
always finished 12th.
right? He went to Nice, and which is different because it's French-speaking, French culture, Liga.
I mean, they weren't a Champions League club when he got there, were they?
But I mean, I'm saying like going back to a place where he adapts to the culture and the player and understanding who they are. I could see Wayne Rooney, and this will be kind of the interesting dynamic, because when Jesse Marsch left the New York Red Bulls, he was the assistant coach at RB Leipzig before getting Red Bull Salzburg. So all of a sudden, we're like, hold on a second. You went from being the top team in Major League Soccer to becoming an assistant coach in the Bundesliga? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would... And then you realize, oh, that's a year set up for adaptation to then go to Red Bull Salzburg. And that was like a cultural thing, off-the-field thing, family thing, language thing. Jesse was speaking German, and then he's speaking Austrian. So you understood what the pathway was. Whatever Wayne decides to do, he's got to make sure that the team itself is strong enough to compete, first and foremost. That the support staff, which is, I would say, the sporting director and the board, has his back and is willing to spend money. That an owner that has deep enough pockets that can compete for whatever the immediacy is, right? If he's going to go, like, look at Brighton. Like, Brighton would be a fantastic situation for a guy like Wayne Rooney if he walked in the door right now. No disrespect to Serbi, you're amazing. I respect what you've done. But because you know that there's already something there, right? There's an idea, there's an identity, there's a pathway to success. And they'll compete, but they'll sell. That's the step before the step. Like, I'd be intrigued to hear what a Frank Lampard situation would have been had he not been offered the Chelsea role. To go from Derby County to see what the next step was to take the step. For example, I think what Steven Gerrard was doing was perfect. Step out of the player realm. Go to Scotland, huge club in Glasgow Rangers, have a tremendous amount of success, and then go to Aston Villa. Don't go to Liverpool. Obviously didn't work at Aston Villa. Things went sideways dramatically. He loses his job. Now he's taking the next step to go to Saudi Arabia, which is an intriguing conversation in so many different variables.
Not really. He went for the money.
Yeah, but...
And that's okay, but he went for the money. He's not gone for
100%.
career development.
So,
there's huge money to be made.
There's money to be made. Get your bag. But... there's steps before steps, and I'm intrigued to see what this looks like, what his pathway looks like, because I think there's so many examples of how not to take that next step.
Yeah, that
I would be intrigued to see what because nobody thinks in Major League Soccer that Wayne Rooney is going to be a lifelong coach at DC United.
Do they think it's possible they could win kind of MLS Cup in the next 3 years if he stayed to his 40? Is that even slightly realistic?
If he was given the players, right now, no.
Because they're not going to. I mean, they're not going to have the same sort of budget. They're not going to have those players, are they? They might be able to get one at some point. They might want to play for Wayne Rooney. There might be a bit of luck. You finish sixth and whatever.
I know the money doesn't make sense as easily as it does to us, right?
Yeah.
Because you're talking tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars on players. It's just a different landscape. they paid $8 million for Benteke. I mean, that is a significant sum of money that is invested in a singular player. So they've spent money, and then they've leaned into Wayne's Rolodex of players. But to suggest that they're going to be LAFC or Inter Miami or even Seattle Sounders or LA Galaxy, teams that have historically spent significant sums of money, that's not going to happen at DC. So they could be kind of the little engine that could, and maybe they could knock a couple teams out because look at Philadelphia Union. Philadelphia Union doesn't go out and historically spend a ton of money, but every single year, at least in the last 3 years, they're one of the teams that can push the big dogs and knock off the big dogs on their day. So that's what Wayne could be the new Philadelphia Union as we go through the next couple of years if he elects to stay.
Does it have to be DC for Rooney? Would he be attracted to other clubs?
In the United States?
Yeah.
I would assume so, yeah. If someone comes calling. But we were talking about this on the show yesterday. Wayne Rooney's name and playing career will get him in the door because I think there'll always be a shine to who he is.
It's still so fresh as well, that career. I mean, he's still so young.
He's still one of the best players to ever play the game.
Ever, absolutely.
The blasphemy is crazy to me. So he gets into every single conversation. And now as he continues to cut his teeth, and by the way, I really enjoy listening. We were talking with Tony Meola yesterday at dinner. I agree with him. I really enjoy watching the evolution of Wayne in the press and how he's talking about his team. And there's a maturity that's different. And I would suggest that people do not understand the difference between being an elite of the elite of the elite player and saying, like, no, just fucking shoot. Like, sorry, Tim. Do what I know. I can hear.
He was just done. We're about to end the show. He was finished.
So
he had them all marked. He's already editing. You've ruined it.
But just do it. Like, no, do it. And the guy's like, can't do it.
Do the kick-ups. Do the kick-up challenge, America.
He can't do it. But amazing, by the way.
Amazing.
And to have to teach.
Yeah.
So I think we are watching a really good young manager.
We all agree 37 is young. That's good. That's
trying
good.
to figure out exactly what it looks like going forward. In the short term, he gets through the season. After the season, something that we have to acknowledge: his family's not with him. His kids aren't here.
Yeah.
I mean, when your family and your kids are not with you, I couldn't even imagine.
No.
So there's a lot of dynamics at play, but I think he's got a bright future as a manager.
To be fair, though, our families aren't here, and we're having a great time.
Oh, boy.
So, maybe he's living the dream. We're all about out of time. I think that's good content today. I think that was a good week in the tackle in person.
For the very first time.
For the very first time. Hopefully not the last time.
No.
We'll see if we stay in the top 40. I did want to read this to you because I loved this. So we had a load of good responses during the Grumpy Pundit show on Wednesday about this weird cereal we started the show with. And I just wanted to read you this because it really made me laugh. Terry got in touch, Terry Thompson, and he tweeted the show and he said, that box of cereal, I wouldn't eat it, but Todd Bowley would offer a transfer record for it. Which I thought was just excellent.
Factual statement.
Just absolutely excellent. Right, Week in the Tackle. In person for the first time and not the last time.
Horsey. Make an appearance, Horse. Come on.
There he is.
I just want you to know, that's what Tim talking balls looks like.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he had his haircut, which was a shame. I was hoping to get my hands in the fop.
The flow.
But you can't do it. That's Brian Dunseth. I'm Tom Rennie. The programme is produced by Mr. Tim Horsey. And this is the Week in the Tackle podcast. We'll see you next time.